Hey y'all, I'm trying to do this from far enough away that you can kind of see what's going on. If I need to move the camera closer or farther out, I'll do that as well. I wanted to see if I could decoupage this beautiful paper to it, and instead of having the mess of trying to decoupage with the Mod Podge wet, I'm trying the new technique of decoupaging with a hot iron. I don't have a craft iron, I have a regular iron. This is it. Let me pick it up without burning myself. And it is a Hamilton Beach iron from Walmart. I don't know what I paid for it, under 20 bucks. And it's never had water in it, so I don't have to worry about any steam coming out of it, because that's going to be an important thing. I have it set on the outer edge of silk and wool before cotton linen, which is the maximum, so I've got it on a little bit hotter than medium. And this paper is called gosh, I didn't mean to throw away the wrapper, but it's like wrapping paper, but it's a little bit thicker. It's like a crafting type of wrapping paper that can be used as wrapping paper or decoupage paper or other types of craft paper. And I got it, I think, at Joann's or Michael's, and I got it, it's called Vintage Roses. I cut the paper. On the edge of paper is always what's called a factory edge. This is the same thing as on boards and things like that. The factory edge is always completely straight, and you can trust it to be the guide for other things to be straight. So I lined the factory edge up with the top of my desk and with the side of my desk, and then I just pinched along the side and made a crease and cut off to get my end, which won't be perfect. So I took another piece of the paper and I butted the factory edge of this up to the factory edge of this, and factory edge on that end down to this end, and creased it there, cut it off, and then did the same thing on this edge. And I left a little extra so I didn't have to sit here and stress about whether it was going to be perfect on this side, since I'm going to take sandpaper and sort of rough up the edges anyway. So we're going to see how this goes. And so the first coat on here, this is all I had today, was the antiquing Mod Podge for the part that's supposed to be so cool and not have all the mess of regular decoupaging. You're going to want to butt it up with the factory edge of your desk and the factory edge of your paper. And I'm just going to get started on this edge so it will hold on to that for me in the future. Let's see if this works. So now I'm just taking the iron and ironing it. I can see a little bit of shiny coming up in the paper, and I'm not going over this straight edge all the way up to that, because I'm going to wait till I have my other piece butted up to it. Now I'm just straightening here to make sure my seam is going to stay straight on the edge. Come out on a diagonal there, and let's just let her rip. Can y'all see there? I'm not able to pick this up. It's already glued down. It's already glued down on those edges just with this iron. How cool is that? This is just blowing me away. I'm gonna go really, really good on my edges, but they're already down. I mean, there's nothing to pick up here. This paper is now part of this desk. And that took no time at all. Look at it. I mean, it's gonna really look like a vintage piece. This is probably one of my proudest moments to date. Something turned out easy. Now this is going to be the slightly tricky part. One other thing about this, if you're doing wallpaper or doing paper projects like this, you usually want to try to match up the pattern, and you would sort of pull your paper or wallpaper back and forth on here to where you can find where they made the cut at, in the middle of this pattern and match it up, and that way you can never see where the seam was. Ideally, that's the situation. And a lot of times you end up losing a foot or more of paper in the beginning before you put it down and wasting that, but it makes your project look so much better. Well, I fiddle-farted with this until I couldn't fiddle-fart no more with trying to figure out how to match up that pattern, and I couldn't. There was no matching it. So we're just going to butt up the seams and call it a day, because it just was not printed in such a fashion that as if it were wallpaper to where it would match up that way. And that's just part of the paper, because if it would have, I would have been glad to have wasted a foot of paper to butt that up. See, I've got this seam butted up best I can butt it up. I can't butt the flowers up because it's just not made that way. And I really don't believe anybody but me and you will know the difference anyway. And there's no sticky on the back of this paper. There was nothing put back on here at all. So that will just come right off. I won't have to worry about it messing with anything. Going real good around the edge there. Whatever piece you're gonna do, and put Mod Podge all over it. Just paint it on. Not real thick, not real thin, but you know, a decent coat on it, and then let it completely dry. Just go off and do something else. Then get your paper, wrapping paper, craft paper, scrapbook paper, whatever kind of paper you're going to use, and cut it out to close to size of what your surface is going to be. Get a craft iron, or let's see if I can get this up close enough. I've just got it on that medium setting right there, and there's never been any water in here, and there's no Mod Podge all over the place. My paper's not wrinkled up. There's just no mess. I'm just blown away by how easy this is. And it's done. I mean, it's not, you can see here from the edge, it's glued on there. And there's no messy nothing everywhere. This is probably the coolest thing I've learned so far this year. It's the bottom of the iron. It didn't leave any kind of residue on it or anything. So hopefully this is a rough enough sandpaper. This is a pretty wore out piece. But this is sort of just all I'm going to do for the edges here. Is use sandpaper to cut them. How cool is that? I'll probably put a coat of DIY liquid patina on here first, and then a coat of gator hide on top of that, just to give me some extra protection. But I also already asked my husband this morning if he would cut me a piece of plexiglass to go on here. That way I could stick pretty pictures and stuff underneath it that, you know, of my grandkids and stuff like that too. But anyhow, yeah, all it is underneath is, it was a painted piece of furniture that I was never happy with. I was just learning to use this paint whenever I painted it. And I didn't like the way it came out, so I didn't sand it. I didn't do anything to prep it except for put Mod Podge all over it and then let the Mod Podge dry. It was completely dry whenever I came in and cut the paper. And then whenever you go on it with the medium heat iron, it just reactivates the Mod Podge underneath and causes your paper to stick. It's just too dang cool. I'm really, really pleased with how this came out, and we'll definitely do more projects like this in the future. This is what I used first, and that's the antiquing matte Mod Podge, and I only use that because that's the one I had here. I got this at Hobby Lobby because I thought it was a cool find, but now I've about used it all up and it was chunky and lumpy and all of that, so I don't want to put it on top and chance ruining it now that I think the paper's so pretty. I'm so glad that it worked out. You know, it was really cool and really easy and only took a couple of minutes. Mod Podge on first, let it dry, cut your paper, get your iron medium setting, iron it on there, and it's done. So thank y'all for joining me. That was a whole lot of fun.